It always comes to this. More nice shit. Okay, so I wanted to do a bit of a different video today. Here's a topic that I've been meaning to cover for a while. There's all kinds of topics that I'm always just like, when am I going to get to that? How am I going to get to that? So I figured that this would be worth doing its own video over. Something I get asked quite often is if I'm ever going to stop getting tattooed, or if I have a final goal or an end point to this tattoo journey, or you know, I don't think that far ahead necessarily about what all of this looks like one day. I often will say that I have my next 10 to 15 to 20 sessions mapped out in my head at any given time. But because we're still learning so much, like every time we sit down, basically, we'll figure something new out, or maybe not every time anymore, but every few times for sure. And then it opens up a new component or a new thing we can do or a new direction we can take. For example, when Rick did these bold lines on my arm and they turned out really great, Terry and I decided to do bold lines on the roses and the thorns, right? So it's like a natural progression. It's like, oh, if we can do more and make it better, why wouldn't we do that? And that's been my whole process. That's been my entire tattoo journey. You know, when I think about what I did with the blackout, it was like, it was less of a tattoo story or journey for me, even though it was more like a heavy body mod, or someone hit the reset button. What I'm doing now reminds me more of my first bodysuit, where even in that first bodysuit, there were multiple revisions and changes and reworks and cover-ups, and things were getting better all the time, or extending on further onto my chin or my sideburns or whatever. I was, even then, multiple cover-ups and reworks, as I said. So before the blackout even started, I was around 600 hours, and it was very clear to me, even then, that I just liked getting tattooed. You know, there came a point in my life where I could afford to do it. I had a lot of ideas when I was young, and I had no ability to get there financially, and I probably wasn't patient enough either. You know, my life was going in too many directions, and I was saving up to buy a house, and there were all these things in my way, and once those limiters were taken away, it was very easy for me to go, oh, I'm just going to do this now. So when I started, I didn't really have a plan of what it would all look like. I still kind of don't. But that's, I think, the best reasoning to do it is like, you just enjoy what you're doing. You enjoy the whole art form and the process and the journey there. And what it ends up looking like in the end doesn't matter so much. It's not that you don't want to like what it looks like, but it's like, I'm sure you will like what it looks like. And if you don't, then you just change it, right? That's been the whole thing for me. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure at some point it made sense to think of tattoos as a permanent thing, and that you'll keep them for a period of time. But I don't know where people got the idea that you got a tattoo and you never had to do any maintenance on it. I don't think of anything in life like that. I don't think of anything like that. Like, I don't think, oh, I got a wife now, she's mine forever. Like, I don't think of things like that. I think of everything is process, and everything is nutrition and watering the grass and taking care of and refining and working on. And why should tattoos be any different? People want to look at tattooing like it's, you know, you go and pick up a doll and you take it home and you set it on your shelf or something, and then that's that. Well, that's one way, sure. That's the more materialistic route, but almost no part of my life is built that way. Almost everything that I do is because I enjoy it. I've never really done much that I didn't enjoy. Even my old job that a lot of people couldn't stand and would snap at all the time, and they couldn't hack it, or it wasn't enough pay, or whatever the case. It was too hard for the money. I enjoyed all of that, and being the shop manager here now, I often miss my old job because I enjoyed the sport of it. So I've made a life where even when things were hard, I've always had some enjoyment in it. Even when things go wrong, I can find the silver lining in it. And so for me, the idea of just getting things and just keeping them and not doing anything with them, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think of tattooing as more of like an interactive sport or hobby. I always have thought that way. I don't think I always, actually no. I probably didn't think that way until I started having tattoos done more often. So when I was, in my early 20s to mid 20s, I was only getting a tattoo every few months. And then I really thought about what thing I really wanted. And it was almost like I had to justify it to someone. I don't think I was justifying it to me, but just in case anybody asked why I was getting it, I needed to have a good reason, because so many people will think, well, what's the meaning of that? And then you have to tell them, oh, well, I liked Spawn as a kid, or I was into this video game, and this meant this thing to me, so I'm getting it for this reason. And I think that's where you end up getting a lot of things you don't actually like, or like the look of, because it's not really an honest motivator. There are some, like I've got the one on the back of my head for my son's mom, and I've got the two on the sides of my head for my mom and my dad. I had a little candy cane for my first cat, Candy, and my first dog, Kane. It was a little black work candy cane. You can have the odd one or two that have some deep meaning to you, but for the most part, if you're getting a lot of tattoos, it's because you like getting tattooed. So then when you have a full body suit, does that mean you just don't like getting tattooed anymore? Or you should be done getting tattooed? That was the big question for me. Like, I was just talking to Rick about this the other day at the shop. He was saying when I was getting the Witch King done on the back of my thigh with him, I'll put a picture of that in here. I was talking to him about wanting to do blackout work, and it made sense to him, but for most people that I told that to, it didn't make sense, because they're like, why would you want to cover up so many pretty pictures? It's like, well, because at some point the process has overtaken the product, right? Like and I don't think it's going to be that way for everyone, but I think for me, it was always like, I just enjoyed what I was doing more than what I was getting from it. It was more of an honest labor of love. So in the same way, when I was laid off from work during the lockdowns, I told people I would have gone to work for free at that point, because I missed my job. I like my social routines. I like my things. I like the things that get me the things. I've always been more interested in making the thing than having the thing. I think it's a hobby, and it's its own reward. So the idea of not having that in my life, it's not like I can't kick an addiction. It's not like that, because people want to make it like it's like an addiction to smoking or alcohol or hard drugs of some kind, but they never want to ask themselves if they want to stop watching hockey or playing video games, or at what point are they going to be done going to movies or watching television or reading books or comics or whatever the hell other thing that they're into. This is all how I've experienced tattoos. And it's not like a drug addiction. And I'll contrast it in the way that if I don't have a tattoo that day, I'm not jonesing. At this point in my life especially, I'm in this for a very long haul. So that means that if I go a week or two without getting tattooed, and that sounds preposterous to a lot of people who'll be watching this, but I'm not freaking out. In fact, I'm actually kind of excited, because I know the next time I get tattooed, it'll be even more fun, because it's been a while, So for me, it's not a need to do, it is a want to do. And that's why I keep coming up with more things to do. It's just so fortunate to me that I'm in an industry, I'm in a process that can always be refined. Every single thing that you're looking at right now, I can make better if I want to. I can take these and I can add another pass of opaque grays and mute them more. I can make this almost as pale as that eventually, or as pale theoretically. If I have the patience and I have the drive to do it, there's no end to what you can achieve through this. And so the only reason you would ever stop is if you'd had enough. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about what it would be for me to have had enough, because it's not going to be illness, it's not going to be financial problems, and it's not going to be losing my job or not being employable or any of those other stupid horseshit things that people think. For me, it's going to be patience. Patience is my resource. I've said this for years. I don't know if I've ever said it on these vlogs, but the number one resource you have in getting tattooed as a lifestyle is patience, because nothing happens quick. And if you do something quick, it's oftentimes not for the best. So when you rush through things, you're not going to enjoy them as much, and the product's going to be worse anyway. So to begin with, you don't want to do it. But the other end of that is when things are taking too long and there's too much fuck around. I think I would be happiest if I could find a way to be able to do all of this work at the same level on myself. But then again, I don't know, because I do enjoy the social components of sitting down and talking shit with the tattooers and getting tattooed. There's always a communal feeling to the trade of pain for art and time for art with another person. That being said, dealing with other people is the thing that may eventually burn me out on the industry, because even though I've got it pretty good now and I know the guys I'm working with really well, whenever you're working with anyone else, even if they're the best person in the world, and I would never claim that anyone here at the shop is, least of all me, people have their problems, and they're to one degree or another annoying to deal with or hard to deal with, frustrating at times. Or say you come in for a tattoo appointment and you don't get going for an hour or two. That is fine in an isolated incident, and it's fine many times even. But the things that wear me down the most about getting tattooed is the mess around, the time it takes to get there, you know, the setup and the fuck around beforehand, bathroom breaks, you know, that kind of stuff. Not the money, not the time you spend sitting. The time you spend waiting, for sure, because that's what saps away at my interest. Now, I'm kind of working with someone who doesn't and someone who does behave that way right now, and so I have a good bit of interplay between get right at it and fuck around quite a bit. But I feel like if those scales shift, it makes me not so into it. So, in other words, to make it more simple and clear, if I was to come in for 4 hours to get tattooed and only get tattooed for 45 minutes, if that was to be my reality for the next 10 years, I'd probably quit getting tattooed in 10 years. But as long as the art form is just pure and it's just tattooing, just money and pain for progress and process, I can do that theoretically until the day I die. And in fact, I may be on my deathbed still wanting to do more. And it wouldn't be needing to do more. I want to make that clear. Because for me, it's a passion project or a hobby. Like an old man working on a car on the shed, you know. You're never really planning to fix the car. It's never really planning to be done. The whole idea is that you're enjoying the work. So I think that as long as I'm alive and I'm still enjoying it, then why would I stop? If I ever stop enjoying it at some point, then I'll revisit the matter. But for now, it's not causing me illness. It's not causing me financial strain. And it's not causing me too much distress. I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still getting something out of it. And I'm pushing into territories that are benefiting others as well through just sheer force of will, patience, determination, whatever you want to call it. The work that I'm doing now has become transformative, not just for me. I've seen others inspired by it, and that's not why I continue to, but it's inspiration in its own right to keep going too, to find new terrain and I don't think I'm going to be the person that's for all years will have pushed it the farthest in terms of layering and what's doable. But I do think that it's going to be a while before another human is in the circumstances and has the patience to do it. And so I feel like still being fairly young and still enjoying the whole goal, the whole project, I think I have a duty not just to myself, but to some degree to tattoo science to keep going too. Because a lot of people wouldn't be enjoying it. That's the other thing. I know there are people out there. Kevin and I used to talk about this all the time on Remy Reacts, but there are people who like getting tattooed and there are people who don't. I see it at the shop as a shop manager pretty well every day. There's a divide in here between the people who just want pretty pictures and the people who are enjoying the tattoo. The people who are enjoying the tattoo are going to end up covered. They don't know they're going to end up covered, but they're going to be. Like, you'll have a girl come in here and she'll get 1 or 2 small tattoos, and then you'll see her again and she has 1 or 2 small more and you just want to tell her, like, just plan the bodysuit. It's over. You like getting tattooed. Stop thinking small. I know why people do that. They do that because it's all they can afford that day and they want to get a taste of the needle or whatever the fuck. They want to have, they want to have a bit of it. But I think that once you can recognize you enjoy getting tattooed, you need to stop making excuses to yourself and others that you're doing it just for the image that you're getting, because it's not about that. And I think that it's as legitimate as enjoying any other hobby. And I don't know when or if we're ever going to see it that way, but I've seen it that way for a long time, and I know I'm not alone. Anyway, to answer the question, in summation, I don't plan on ever stopping getting tattooed, but it's not because I need to, and it's not because I'm addicted. It's because I enjoy what I'm doing, and until I don't, that's going to be what I do. All right, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.